Hello, I'm recording this on the beautiful morning of the Wednesday of Holy Week. This morning I was put in mind of one of my favourite stories. It doesn't take much to put me in mind of it, I must admit. It's never far from my mind. You might know it. It's by Oscar Wilde and it's called The Selfish Giant. There once was a giant who had a huge and beautiful garden. The children loved his garden. It was full of flowers and trees, places to climb and run and hide and just play. The children loved playing in the garden. The giant did not love them playing in the garden. The giant hated the fact that the children played in his garden. He used to run out and scare them all away. And in the end, he was so angry, he built a huge, impassable wall around his garden so that none of the children could get in and play. The children were sad. They found other places to play that were not as good, but the garden itself was sad too. And the sunshine sort of found that it couldn't quite get over the wall into the garden either, and neither could the soft rain. The only weather which happened in the garden were cold, biting winds, hail, and a little bit of wet snow. The garden began to die. The giant was fed up. He packed his bags and went to stay with a friend of his in Cornwall on an extended holiday. Whilst he was away, the weather weathered the wall, and a little tiny chink appeared, which a couple of children soon found and made bigger and bigger, until a few children could manage to get back into the garden. It took a long time, and by that time the giant returned from his holiday to his horrible, half-dead garden in the wind and the rain. But looking out of the window, he noticed that one tiny part of the garden was alight with sunshine, and flowers were blooming again and trees were beginning to blossom. As he looked closer, he could see there were children there. In a rage, he raced downstairs, and the children were terrified. But then the giant stopped and compared the beauty of that part of the garden to the rest of his garden. There was one little child who could not get away and was desperately trying to climb up the tree to be with his friends, but he wasn't tall enough to reach the lowest branch. The giant approached him, gently lifted him onto the branch with his friends. The child smiled. The other children stayed, and more children came back to the garden. The garden blossomed again, and the sun shone there, and the rain fell softly. The giant knocked down the huge wall and opened the whole of his garden to all of the children. Over the years, he and the children became fast friends, and he saw many of them grow up through his garden. Year after year, he would spend time out there with them, sitting as he got older and watching them play. But to his great disappointment, never again did he see the little child who had smiled on him when he lifted him up onto the branch. The giant grew older and more frail, and could only sit in his seat as the children played and grew around him. One morning, as he was sitting there, his face lit up, for there again was the child that he had not seen for so many years. The giant beamed, and then his face clouded over. In a rage he cried, "Who has dared to harm thee?" For he had noticed on the hands and the feet of the little child raw, angry, red wounds. The child smiled. "Ah, no," he said. "Did you not know? These are the marks of love. Once you invited me to play in your garden. Now I have come to take you to my garden, which is paradise." When the children looked later, they found the body of the giant peacefully in his garden seat, but the giant himself was in paradise. Pray with me. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen.